You good?
Yeah.
All right. Well, call a meeting to order. Start with roll call.
Jason Wertz,
Here.
Tiffany Yant, here's Tony Bevel, Dorian Leibel.
Here.
Lisa Patterson absent tonight, Richard Amici,
Here.
Lawrence O'Keefe,
Here.
and Councilor Jan Sands.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, and first on the list there is approval of minutes. Is anyone have any comments or corrections? If not, take a motion to approve.
Make motion for the minutes from last meeting.
Second. Have any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Have any living citizen comment? I don't hear it. so-
No citizen comments tonight.
All right. First on the business is discussion.
That's me.
All right.
Thanks for letting me crash the party. Wanted to come and talk to you a little bit about, some tools that we have available to us. It's, the- Nope, one more, keep going, nope,
Oh,
sorry,
great.
yep. Okay, cool, all right. So obviously, one of the biggest complaints within the city is speed. Distracted driving. And so we have been looking at some of the options and what that could look like. And one of the things that's come out recently, you've heard for years, the photo enforcement bans that have been in Beaverton and Portland. Where they had the ability to move around within a city, and address some of the speeding issues. We've never explored that, probably won't, but one of the tools that's come up as of lately are these mobile, I call them stands. Sorry, I gotta figure out how to move this thing. I wanna hide it, doesn't matter where it goes, right? So, we're in contract right now with, Vera Mobility. Jeez. Oh, sucker, can I just minimize it? There you go, okay. They are our speed and, photo enforcement program that we've had since 2010. Just in the last few years, obviously, we implemented the speed component on 99. And I think you've probably been updated over the years of its effectiveness. Obviously, the whole premise of that is to hopefully educate and slow people down. We've been at a pretty steady pace as far as violators since its inception, aside from just the immediate increase that we had and we expected. That all being said, our biggest need right now is how do we address the speeding in the city limits, the streets, the arterials, the neighborhoods, the school zones, Roy Rogers, Oregon, Sunset, you name it. And we can all probably pick a street that we can identify and say there's a problem there. As you heard, and as you're probably well aware of, that we run most of the time with 2 officers on. That's just not feasible for us to be everywhere at all times. So we're trying to come up with some solutions that can address some of this. As you can see, just the community need, the public safety case, just some of the things that I just talked about. And how can we address it equitably, and fairly across the board? Vera Mobility has these signs right here. Essentially what they can be placed anywhere on any street within the city limits. And they can enforce speed. So I have presented this idea to the police advisory board just last week. Obviously I want to get it in front of you because if this is a tool that you think is gonna be valuable, then we're gonna wanna get it in front of city council to explore its options. Obviously, all these tools come with a cost. It can be tacked on to our current contract right now. I'm exploring the utilization of 2 of these so that we can move them around within the city in a couple different locations. The one thing when I spoke last week, I thought we can capture both directions, north, south, east, west, whatever you're doing. But we'd have to have 2 up. So if we place 2 out there, we can capture both directions. Otherwise, one camera just captures a single direction. And it's identical to what Vero Mobility does right now. It captures the front and back plate, facial recognition, all the things that we already do. There are other companies out there that do it. However, it would be a whole nother platform that we'd have to learn, a whole nother database, just an entire another system that would inundate the people that are already doing it. If we were to implement these signs or these radars, it would fall on the shoulders of those that are already doing the photo enforcement now. So it's just going to be additional work for them. We're not going to hire more bodies to run this program, unfortunately, but it at least would stay in the same frame of what they already know. So it just, instead of 200 citations, we may have 300 in the queue or so. So we'll manage that, we'll figure it out. But at this point, I wanted to get it in front of both of the boards, just to have a discussion if there's questions. One of the biggest hurdles we have right now is legislation has allowed this to go into residential neighborhoods. But it is still tied to the 11-mile-an-hour over threshold. So what that means is we can't cite unless you're doing 11 over, just like Highway 99. I have spoken with one of the senators about getting this corrected within the legislation, so we're gonna have a further discussion on that, because I think it's imperative that we do. 11 is really difficult in a neighborhood. Can we get it on Oregon Street? Can we get it on Sunset? Can we get it on Roy Rogers? Probably. And probably on a regular basis. Unfortunately, that's just reality. That's what we see. Chris can attest to probably many other streets that may support 11 and over, but that's not the goal. We need people slowing down. So we're going to try and look at probably 6 miles an hour over, so that when we can get into these school zones, 26 is probably, I don't know what your threshold is within school zones and what people are stopping for, but if we can get it down to that, I think that would be good. That doesn't mean that we have to set it at that, but we want some variance and ability to adjust those as needed. So, as I alluded to earlier, it's not going to replace officers. It's just going to augment in the need that we already have. The tool and technologies has been around forever, so we know what it means or how it works and what it means. So it'll be easy for us to just jump right in and utilize this program. The cool thing about it is we can move it every 30 days. So these are not fixed to one street or location. Every 30 days, we can pick a new target, because now complaints will come in handily. We can move it up there. Oops, can I go back? You can see how those bolts are in there. I don't know for sure exactly how they're fixed to the ground, but it looks like they're probably drilled down in there and affixed. Is it gonna be tagged? Is it gonna be vandalized? Guaranteed. They'll come out and fix it. They manage it, they operate it. The only thing we gotta do is on the back end is what we've been doing, is ensuring that citations are issued in a timely manner and doing all the things that we've done. So the burden of managing this thing won't be on the PD or Public Works. And they'll move it wherever we want every 30 days. So if we get to, we can adjust them wherever we want within the city. I already talked about, obviously, the legislative stuff. And there again, it's nothing new as to what we're doing within the photo and speed enforcement on 99. And then obviously the cost, that's what we're working through, is exactly what that'll look like. There again, it'll be under the same contract that we're with Vero Mobility. So there's going to have to be, they'll do some of their studies. Obviously, we want to make sure we can afford the machines. That means that people are going to have to be issued citations to offset the cost of these things, which I think we can. Unfortunately, that's just the nature of the beast, that we can show that there's just a lot of traffic issues. I don't need to show you Urban SDK because you already know it. But we can utilize that tool as well to identify some of these areas, and figure out where we want to set these things up as complaints come in. And, you navigate some of the issues that are in front of you. I mean, this could be a great tool that you could implement as you see fit as well. So I really want it to be this collaborative deal with not only the internal workings of us and what we see, but just, you know, as Police Advisory Board, the Traffic Safety Board, you know, what that means and what that looks like. So that's it. I think I only have 3 slides. I just wanted to take up a bit of your time to get this in front of you, because we're going to have further conversations, but more importantly, I want to answer any questions you have, any concerns you have. And, you know, will there be support in this moving forward from the traffic safety board? You again? Oh,
It's, have you figured out a generalized monthly cost?
it's probably around 6,000
Okay. And
per unit.
you talked about the people managing the red light citation program. I'm just guessing that their workload has decreased with the right turn yields on Tualatin, Sherwood and stuff. So it wouldn't be at a point where we need to hire another person to facilitate managing the program?
Well, as I said before, that's not the intent, or we're not looking at that right now. Now, if this skyrockets for whatever reason, and you have 2 of them that operate and are in this, on a daily basis quite a bit. I think what burdens us down more than anything is the paper trail of this. Is as much as this is electronic, we do a lot of paper. Sabrina will attest to it. I mean, there's a lot of declaration of innocence, bad addresses, you name it, all sorts of things that literally have to be opened up and processed, and then they have to be handed off. And it goes from our building to City Hall to, you know, managing all that. It's time consuming. I said this in the Police Advisory Board, but there's 2, there's 3, 4, 5. I think there's 6 people that, you know, in any given day or in the system, depending on the volume of it. So if we're doing 200-300 citations a day and they dump them, you know, every 7 days, you know, you're talking 1,000+ citations that have to be navigated. It could be. I mean, that could be the load. I just don't know. I would like to see that it decreases and that we're having an impact 100%. Right now, about 90% of our citations that we issue are out of the zip code of 97140. This is going to be a different story. It's going to be a lot of people here in this community that we're going to be impacted by these things. We also get that they're not going to be happy, but we understand that this is what they're asking for. You hear it every meeting. I hear it. And I know that Chris hears it. And unfortunately, when we go in and make those, you know, enforce those speeds, we're dealing with just our citizens here. And that's maybe, and hopefully that'll have the impact that, you know, those numbers do go down, but let's see.
Thanks.
This 11-mile-per-hour threshold, I mean, that should do a lot of damage at that. Even at 6 miles per hour. I mean, the point I'm getting at that, yeah, you need to reduce that.
Yeah, I mean, in a neighborhood that's 25 miles an hour, we're not able to cite anybody until they're at 36. That's moving.
Yeah.
You've heard it, you've seen it, you stand in the neighborhood. 20 looks really fast if you're standing on a sidewalk. And I know we frustrate a lot of people because in fact, when we go out and we check, you know, a lot of times we determine that that's really not a speeding problem. We get it, it's a perception problem. That, to your point, you're right. 36 would be incredibly fast. We're not gonna probably get a lot of people, not significant enough to impact, you know, the behavior changes, but 6 miles an hour, this will probably.
Well, you said Oregon Street would be, well, that's like, I worked Oregon Street a lot today and I didn't cite anybody for less than 40 in the 25. And I was busy. 32 is the average I stop on Oregon Street at 25. That's fun.
Yeah.
They think that Oregon just keeps on being 35 or it splits
About
out
the
there,
roundabout, they don't see the 225 signs as you come up the hill towards Hall.
right?
So they hit the straight stretch prior to the curve by the old tannery lot and just gun it.
Yeah.
And it's both directions too. It's coming out of Old Town and going into Old Town.
I believe you guys are hearing, some complaints on Roy Rogers. Is that coming up or is that just internal?
That's mainly internal.
Okay.
That's that transition from another city.
Yeah, they don't slow down. We hear about it all the time. And that one there would support 11 and over, but the objective for these are neighborhood streets, school zones. That's really the premise of this project if we want to do it. But for it to be effective, we're gonna have to make some changes legislatively.
Now, the 11 and over, that's a state mandate for photo radar specifically, not for normal law enforcement, right?
That's how that's.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So that has to come down from like state, they have to redo the laws for photo radar to allow for that.
Yeah, and so in some of my discussions, I mean, I think there's an appetite for it. It's pretty neutral. Everybody wants child safety, people speeding down. I don't think there would be a whole lot of pushback on that, but still gotta navigate it. To your point, myself or Officer Pierce can go out and we can ride for 5 hours if we want it, personally, as long as we're forcing it. So there's that ability, but like I said, the girls, just you have limited resources, so gotta fill the gap here.
I got a question.
Yeah.
This traffic signal application of these has been around for a long time. There's lots of studies that document the effectiveness of it at compliance. You still get lots of tickets, but like you said, you had a lot in the beginning and then it tapered off, right? And so those people learn their lesson and then now they know there's a light there, so people slow down, which is what we're trying to get them to do, or they don't run the red light, which is what we're trying to get them to do. Are there studies on these use in a mobile scenario where you're just moving them potentially every month? As far as what kind of compliance you get and how much that compliance sticks? I guess that might be one of my concerns is that. If we're moving these things around, hotspots that sure we get. A lot of tickets in the first week and then the next 3 weeks you get compliance and then you move it away and then the speeds go back up or. I guess I'm just curious if there are studies that back up the use of these in the same way that the traffic signal lights are.
I'm not aware of any, this is new to me, so, the van is. Arbitrary on where they park, and they're only there for a certain amount of hours in a day because it's operated by an officer. This is gonna be permanent, working 24/7. There's nothing that says we can't leave it there beyond 30 days. We leave it there for 6 months if we wanted to, depending on what we're seeing, or if we're seeing a change of behavior. It would probably be worth researching. I can just tell you, historically doing this job, I just know that a lot of people have short memories. They will pay attention to the next 5 times. And then all of a sudden, as soon as they see that thing's gone. You're right, they may start picking it back up again and it's just kind of like Groundhog Day. We're back out there with it again.
I feel like this company needs to make decoy ones that just flash, that don't actually write tickets, and then you can move your stuff around. They'll be able to know which ones are actually.
I'll go sit at the new Forest Creek Way on 99 coming north. So people coming from Newburgh, they get through the intersection at the Y at Sunset, they slow down. And then between Sunset and Meineke, I sit there with my laser. They know, they slow down to get through the intersection and they speed right back up to 65, 70 through the 45 every day.
I think I like the idea, but I'm pretty hesitant. I think that I would want to see more. I want to be more confident that what it's gonna do is that it's gonna do what we want it to do and not just be an enforcement mechanism that's temporary. Might get compliance for a short time and then you move it and it goes back. It's more expensive, but I'm a big fan of effective roadway design to obtain the speeds that you're looking for. Although I realize that's not always possible and there's always people that are gonna speed anyways, but, a road that is designed to make people slow down, provides a lasting, speed reduction through a corridor, beyond, just the time that this thing's out there, or you put them in permanently. I mean, are these only just mobile things, or can you be like, all right, in this school zone, we have this permanently here?
We could, I mean. I guess what I like is its mobility. Somebody commented earlier, we could leave it there permanently. If in fact we got through legislation and dropped the speed limit, we would probably want to look seriously at keeping these things permanently in front of some of these high-speed school zones. Because we know it's a problem. It's always been a problem. It doesn't matter if it's Sherwood, Beaverton, Tigard, it's a problem. So, but I guess my point is, we gotta start somewhere. We've gotta start trying to identify these things, because we just chase our tail. And if there's a enforcement that can actually literally send a citation, you've seen our trailers out. It's the same concept, but they know that they don't issue citations. And they just rip right on by them. The first time you go by it, myself included, I check my speed. Then I'm like, okay, I'm good. Then I realize what it is. And so anybody that knows what those are, know that they don't enforce speed. Unless Chris is hiding behind it. But he's at least give us some teeth to send a citation. Completely hear what you're saying. I also heard that, the challenge we have with speed humps, design changes, they just have been so cost prohibitive for us over the years. I mean,
Yeah.
I've just heard it time and time again, and I know Rich can speak to this way better than I can. It's, how do we change all these things with the kind of budget constraints that we have? And here's the thing, this is just a tool. It's just not an end all be all for speed within the city, but it is something for us to at least consider. And if it's effective, here's the good thing about it, we're in a contract year to year on it. If we don't feel like we're getting any kind of benefit from it, we've been in those kind of things and look in other direction. There are other companies out there that do some different things, but like I said before, completely different systems, things that we're not familiar with. So I lean towards something I'm familiar with, and I don't have to try and ask these people to learn something completely new and different, but
Can I ask a couple questions?
nope. We're the only one allowed.
So, I heard you mention earlier you were expecting around a 6,000 a month cost per.
Yep.
Would that be in general, like what it would cost each time, or does that decrease with citations being issued and then offsets and it becomes a zero number?
No, 6,000 a month.
Okay,
And that's because they operate and do everything. And that includes all their back end stuff, because when a citation's issued, it goes through the back end. They do all their review. They have their first swipe at it to determine to make sure that it could be a legitimate citation with, plates and vehicle matches and visualization of somebody there. And then they send it to us. And then we do the same thing, literally. And then we push a little button that says send, issue, and then it goes back to them. And then they send it back out. So there's just a lot of pieces that go into play. So that's why it's costly.
Right.
Unfortunately, this is somewhat of a business decision. We have to know and determine that, in fact, we're going to issue enough citations that offset that. That's just the reality of it. If it's 6,001, great, okay. But we certainly don't want to be only bringing in $2,500 and offsetting or subsidizing $3,500 for these kind of tools. So I think it's there. Without a doubt, it would be there if we got down into the 6 mile an hour zone within the school zone. So
I guess the other question I had then is if we, if you guys get two of them and it's, around 12,000 a month, I'm sure this is a question you've already like pondered yourself. What about having another officer that, hiring another officer and using that money per month to have another enforcement officer instead of mobile, these radar machines?
Yeah, that, I mean, I don't.
I'm sure you.
They would,
wondered that question. I
well,
mean,
they would never offset the cost of an officer, or even close. The beauty of these, they're 24/7, 365.
Right.
It's a workhorses. Chris can't be, he works a 10-hour shift. He has to commit to 2 hours on one street and then try and get somewhere else. So I like where you're going. I'm just kind of looking at the efficiency and bang for our buck of how can we be everywhere but not, or at least in the hot spots.
Correct.
That goes back to the mobility aspect when, the revenue starts to dip on one of them. It can then get moved to another area, as the behavior changes, we now move it to the next hotspot and get it back to that 6,000 number again, whatnot. So that's a huge plus.
It's, yeah, like I said, I mean, we will chase our tail because, we'll have a major impact on Oregon Street, guaranteed. I don't know if you remember when and we've heard for years, people ignore or they make an effort not to come down 99 because of our cameras. They turn down Sunset. They go about, they'll go around all these cameras. Unfortunately now, Walton's got them, Tiger's got them. You just don't escape the cameras nowadays. But I know that we've had an impact, not only just with the instructional, but because of these cameras down our arterial roads. They just get the pace up and they go. So it's always going to be a challenge for us.
I know some of the potential pushback you might get from community is, like the feeling like it's a trap. Or it's done in a manipulative way to get tickets written, and you mentioned, come with signage and notice and all that sort of stuff. I think that would be important.
Comes at all. The occupancy sides on it.
So with these, thank you for bringing that up. So right now, the way our photo enforcement works, we have to have signage for all the major entrances into the city saying photo enforcement ahead. You've probably seen the signs. And then nearing the intersections, you'll see it again. With these in particular, we have to have additional signage out. So it's not gonna be a trap. Yeah. It's kind of gonna be like Waze. You ever used Waze? You see a little police officer up ahead, that probably a cop sitting up there, same kind of thing. You're gonna have a sign out there that says, enforcement ahead. If you choose to ignore it, well, that's on you, but, that's one of the hurdles, that we're gonna always have to overcome. You're right, because we get it's just for money. We have quotas. We're just trapping people, and that's obviously none of that's true. And we address that, and we would address that when we go out. If we go out, we'll have a big social media push to make sure everybody's educated again on the fact that these are in play. Are we going to tell them where they're at all the time? Absolutely not. But we'll tell them what they look like. Signage will be there. That this is what it's for. But
I think if it's done smart and done, with the right intentions, I think they come across pretty well. I mean, anytime somebody complains to me about the speed light on Sunset by the Y, it's just like, whoa, you were going 11 over or more. So it's like, I don't have much sympathy for you.
Yeah, like,
No.
the legislation, we have to give you 10 miles an hour. We're already giving you 10. You're still pushing it that much further.
Calibration for speed over.
Yeah.
with the big tires.
Exactly.
I would think it's totally a trial period to see where we're at, where we go with that. Or support something like that.
Yeah, I think we'd be into it for a minimum of a year.
Yeah,
But I think we need that just to kind of figure out the impact it has. Is it worth our time and effort? And what's the impact on staff too? Is that we're just guessing, these are new, so a lot of this is estimating on kind of the impact we're gonna have.
Yeah, you said it was 10 days to turn a ticket around when the photo was taken. So
That's one that has to be issued within 10 days. And we've gotten it down. I mean, like I said, we've been doing it 15 years. So we're pretty good on the back end. It's just, what it does, unfortunately, is it takes people off the road. It takes them away from their other responsibilities here. But again, like I said, we'll absorb it. Because we wanna see if this is going to be a good tool, but. Rich, is there anything on your end that I'm missing? I know just as far as the impact, go ahead.
So, I mean, it will have a positive impact on speeding, so. Whatever we can do to, balance. And this could be a very effective tool to be able to do that.
I think the point you made about how 90% of the tickets currently issued are from out of this zip code, and this is gonna be the flip side. This is people who habitually use Dewey as their avenue into Woodhaven, or people who, come down Meineke and drop their kids off every day, and, they're doing the same thing over and over, and their speeds creep up and up and up, and their behavior changes when they get a ticket, and when they get a second one, they realize they really should have changed by now, and they change it then if they haven't yet. That's kind of, I think, what would happen here. It's gonna ruffle some feathers, but it's for the greater good, it's for the safety.
And ironically, it could be the same people complaining about traffic speeds.
I do have a question. If a particular community would like this particular unit in their community because they see speeding, like we always get the requests here saying that these guys, someone's speeding. Is it request driven? Can it be request driven versus the ones that you guys are identifying as the roadways that are like Oregon Street? If I know that I'm getting lots of traffic or speeders on my street, can a neighborhood request for it?
Yeah, I think that would be, there again, I think it addresses the entrapment, this, it's just for the police kind of a tool, to help overcome that. I'm not opposed to it, obviously, we haven't set those guidelines out yet, but that's how we respond right now, so I don't know how we
It could be
change this.
for traffic calming, right? Where like from an engineering point of view, like infrastructure, you can ask for bumps or routes to try to slow. Another avenue would be asking for a type of enforcement through that mechanism.
Yeah, I think we'd be all about that, because we want to give people, we want to empower them to have an impact in their neighborhood, and this is a tool that we can put in place, absolutely, I mean,
Something to consider.
it doesn't impact us at all, as I understand it, I'm gonna make a phone call and say this is what we want it, they come out and figure out, where they can do. They know all the back ends of this and where they can put this, legally, public right of ways and all those things, those are things we'll address probably with Rich but, yeah, I'm totally up for that. I think it would be a great idea to give them that opportunity for sure. The one thing I'm really disappointed in is that we didn't have this ability with all of the, construction.
Yeah.
Because we would probably let them sit out there for 2-3 years. Because it was astounding how many people would speed up and down that, even with flaggers out there. Well, very good. I'm not out there enforcing it, and I still saw it all the time, so.
Yeah, quickly enough, we can put them on Sunset, the construction's coming up there.
100%. Good. You're right, that's, how long is that gonna be? Is that gonna be, how long of a project is that gonna be?
The Sunset Timberland project, we're hoping to be done in February.
Oh, yeah, so.
What's the power source? Are their power generator?
I think they're not, I think they're battery.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're not having to plug them in or do those kind of things.
To Joey's comments, I think there should be some sort of qualifier. I know like with urban SDK, you can count how much traffic is on a road. To move it to a residential street that gets 40 cars a day, it wouldn't pay for itself. So I think that's something that we should definitely keep in mind, is it is so expensive. It means, the priority, especially out the gate, is on the busy, heavily traffic roads, and then depending how successful it is, we can get more creative as how far we branch out. But that would be my concern, that thinking about the neighborhood I live in. I'm like, gosh, I don't know how many cars we get a day, maybe 60, 70 at the most, and that would have.
That might be something.
10% of them speeds.
Request trailer for.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously have other tools. We have the trailer, well, we're down to one, I think. Yeah, and then obviously we have the ability to utilize Chris. But those are just limited hours and obviously patrol when they can, but, I think a threshold would be prudent. So if things came to this board, you would have to meet those things. If they requested it through here, obviously you guys can check mark and say, because we can use Thurman SDK, which is obviously a great tool for us. For us and the PD, we would be making the same kind of decisions, because if we're gonna commit to 30 days somewhere, we need to make sure it makes an impact.
Does, do we know, does one have the ability to measure both directions of traffic on one side of the road, or is it only for one direction then?
So you can put them together and give both. So if, in fact, like, if we wanted Oregon, if we needed Oregon, I just bring up Oregon, it's but we could put them both down there, so you can catch both directions. But in the back, this is a problem.
Are we able to put it on a Washington County road, like Brookman or something, or it only be on Sherwood? Street?
It would have to be on our streets because all the citations run through us. Otherwise, it would have to go, any citations would have to go to the county.
Oh,
And that would be-
I don't think Washington County at this point would allow it. County doesn't allow the speed radars on any of the county traffic signals at this point, so. There was one in city of Tualatin signal at Tualatin allowed it at Avery, that was it. So far, there's none on any Washington County signals.
Other questions?
That's all I got. Thanks for letting me, come to your meeting.
Yeah.
I gotta go to another one, so I'm gonna leave.
All right, next item is November and December meeting cancellations, because these always fall on the holidays. Thanks. Okay, anybody feel strongly other? Sorry, all in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Hey, before I leave, just an overall consensus, this is something that you as a board would like to further explore. Are we in agreement with this, explore this little more, see what it entails?
I would give my endorsement.
Absolutely.
I would check. I don't think you need to vote. I mean, there again, I'm just so really, obviously I want your buy-in because it's gonna be a great tool for the board here, but I wanna make sure I'm not overstepping or missing something. Great, you guys have brought up great things that we need to consider, but but again, you're a conduit for us to the community, and I wanna make sure that you guys are gonna be in support of exploring this and what that means. So for enforcement, so.
No, I mean, a great example is Archer Glen. We've spent so much time in this board fielding kind of concerns from the citizens about it, and our hands have been tied with what we are able to do. And to be able to say, there's one more, arrow in our quiver that we're able to pull out and throw out this problem. It just makes so much sense. So, yeah, I think I'm in favor of it. It seems like most people are.
Okay, I'll continue to work on it. Obviously, I need to meet with council as well. Those are the final decision makers on any movement of this, but I appreciate your time. I can't get into it. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, now move on to the traffic safety requests. There's two, but they're essentially the same thing. Everybody get a chance to read the. Yeah. The staff, is there anything you guys wanna share before we dialogue? I guess before we get too deep, changing the speed limit on a street is a process. You wanna explain that, or I don't wanna spend a ton of time dialoguing on this if it's like procedurally not possible, or
So yeah, we'd have to get ODOT involved in that process to be able to evaluate whether. Something that. Something. I think there is some latitude on reduction of 5 miles now. But I don't know if council has about that as far as how that would fit. But it would be a long drawn out process through ODOT to be able to make any significant changes in the speed of Sunset West example.
I'm glad it took 2 years for the lower the speed limit.
The ED and also Bacon at the same time, so that it was a.
So last week we had the police advisory meeting and Chief did the same presentation. And as part of it, he pulled up the urban SDK. And I had just read these comments that we got from the agenda. So we asked to look at Sunset. And the segments we looked at, the average speed was 34 miles an hour over the last month. So that's right in line with the posted speed. Now, obviously, there are outliers. The top, I think 95% speed was still averaging around 39. And then there was obviously, 78 mile an hour that was clocked on there. And, there's always going to be high ones. But the averages all seem to be safe in line with the posted speed. So it didn't seem like there was much documented concern. So if we had to go to ODOT, I don't think we would have the warrants to justify a reduction.
Agreed. I was looking over the same, and I gotta commend the writer on this well thought out, well-written data and request. I wanted to say that first, but attending the police advisory board last week and looking at Sunset and request for speed and enforcement, this is the perfect tool for that mobile camping issue. And I don't know if we're ready. I would think we're still, but I was thinking that we would just kind of table this until we make a decision on this mobile camera thing, and it needs a little more research. The data doesn't, as Richard said, it doesn't warrant changing the speed limit. Although I live a couple of blocks off Sunset, and I hear the little, can't call them that. I hear the little cars revving up and down, from time to time, and I understand his frustration.
There's no doubt people speed.
Yeah.
I just don't feel it's as constant or as extreme with the outlier exceptions as perception might be.
I got the feeling, I'm curious your guys' thoughts, but I got the feeling when I read it that the issue that they're bringing forward is not that they're concerned about speeding over the current speed limit, but they want the speed limit lower. So if we said there's not a speeding issue, most people are not going faster than 35. I don't think that addresses their concern. They're saying, I want the speed limit 25 because this is a neighborhood, they're calling it a neighborhood street. And we bike and my kids play on this road and we're adjacent to the road. And so I think those are good points. I'm not really sure that's addressing their particular request.
Correct. Yeah, and I would agree with you there. There is a huge chunk of Sunset that for 10 hours a day is 20 miles an hour, 5 days a week. I feel like that is a natural, it should be a natural slowdown to the speeding issue there. But again, just as you mentioned, bringing up the procedural aspect of changing a speed limit, it is going to be a big obstacle to overcome, especially if speeding isn't so much an issue per se. So that's is that a fight we're willing to go into if we don't have tools available to win it?
This person did bring up a pretty good precedence, best practice, and I'd be interested in. I haven't done any research, but it'd be interesting to see where a similar street in relative short would be the Sunset. Like, I'm thinking Avery in Tualatin, how that compares, and that.
Like a smidge.
They've got the school and
The only difference is they have flashing beacons for the school times. But I believe the speed there it's 35, I think, through the whole Avery, all the way up to Boones Ferry. So
Red Durham, in front of Tiger High School, that's probably 35 too. So that's the same kind of a cut through as Sunset almost. School.
and Tiger High has 9 school beacons for the school. All over the place. It's pretty extreme there. A little bit smaller road going past Tiger High, the road's pretty narrow there compared to from Orchard. Basically a whole extra lane from Orchard. Where else? There are very few places I can think of where their main thoroughfare where there's a school speed is 25. It's not very normal throughout Washington County that I can think of.
I have a question for you, Joy. As part of the TSP update, will we be looking at road classifications, verifying those, and then usually TSP will also have like road sections and speed limits or different road classifications. Is that going to be part of this update?
Yeah, I mean, it always is as far as the road classification is always reviewed as part of this. Along with the associated typical speed limit for the type of road. And in this case, I believe Sunset's an arterial.
Yes.
So which means that it's 30, typical 35, and usually that means that if it's an arterial, there's gonna be more traffic. It's not gonna be a neighborhood route like, the request, they mentioned similar residential school corridors. So I can't compare if those are arterial roadways that they're comparing them to, or are they collector? So the different classifications dictate the type of speed and even access points. An arterial, you're trying to move traffic.
Well, think about the way Sunset Boulevard is designed as well. You have primary streets that intersect it, and there are very few residential driveways throughout the entirety of the road that actually run into Sunset. Where
Yes, it
the
should.
street will have houses lining the street. So that's a big difference as well.
The reason I asked is because I think one way we can respond to this request is, that we're currently looking at additional enforcement, mechanisms. But the question in my mind is really a question of, in the city of Sherwood, do we want our arterial roads to be 25-mile-an-hour corridors or 35? And that through the TSP update process, that question could be asked and we could dialogue. And personally don't see that changing, but that would be the mechanism to change it, would be through that, right? Not that the street would change immediately, but if you.
I mean, the conversation can come up through the TSP update, but again, just based on the engineering aspect of what the extent of an arterial roadway, I don't see us getting to a point where in Sherwood, an arterial is gonna be 25 miles an hour. Because it would contradict county regulations, the state regulations, and it'll slow everybody down, and traffic, and freight. I mean, arterials are the main corridors of getting transportation or, vehicles to them.
I think it's also important to note that there are projects in the works like in Sunset and Timberwolf to increase pedestrian safety crossing the road on Sunset as it is, and there's more in the works. So that would be important to necessarily let them know about that, they are thinking about safety and we are actively doing projects that are going to make it even more safe. So if it's not feasible as an arterial and it's just not necessarily going to happen just by law, then this is what we're doing to improve it anyways.
I can definitely identify the process in regards to trying to reduce it, where there has to be coordination with ODOT. And that's a long process and majority, I mean, just be truthful in the sense of majority of the request takes years, but also typically. Because the request is at the intersection, right? They're asking about the intersection from Highway 95 and Sunset. Starting. So, isn't that what the request?
All of Sunset.
All of Sunset, but they did mention at the beginning. Of Sunset, so that would be that particular intersection.
Any other thoughts?
I like your idea, letting them know that this is, there's already steps being taken to make the area safer, and this is part of a larger discussion for the overall transportation plan for the city. So we're looking at additional mobile enforcement options. So thank you for bringing it to our attention. We can't take any action on it now because it's a larger discussion we're having.
Is there a motion?
Yes, and that we respond to that.
I would second that motion.
Any discussion?
We're necessarily closing it, that motion, or leaving it pending.
I mean, if we're not gonna take any action, we've assigned it to the trustee, then yeah, we should propose it from our agenda.
I would stand on that second, because it doesn't seem like the very definition of arterial will let that change the speed limit. But the person brings up valid points and it should be responded to. On it. Rules, I can say. So the second thing.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. You opposed? Okay, on to pending traffic safety requests, first one, 25003, request for street improvements at Main Division intersection. Lighting, I think. We were waiting for lighting level analysis.
Right, I understand that we've taken measures to install LED lights out that area. But staff has not. That analysis has not been completed.
You guys want to just table that the next month?
That's your
Motion next year? Yeah, next year. Okay, the next one, 25009, speeding concern at Washington and Meineke by the middle school. I think this one we were waiting for updated info from new school year.
I haven't seen anything change from what reported last year. So it doesn't even matter if I'm sitting in the middle of the road with my lights on, and people still speed by me, which blows me away.
Is there a direction where more speeding happens?
Both ways.
So I'm thinking about the mobile cameras, about how great it would be to put one by Archer Glen, one by the middle school, but now you gotta prioritize which side you try and catch.
No, it's both directions. Like I said, I sit in the special left turn lane in front of the practice field between the school and the LDS church, sit right in the middle of the road. I'll put all my lights on the steady function, so they're not flashing. They're just, the red blues are just on. And I'll just sit there and just have 31, 32, 34, and 20, because we're right by me. So
Describe like the dialogue you have with people and you ask them questions and like.
I'm like, did you not see my patrol car with the red lights on in the middle of the road that you just sped by in an active school zone with children walking to school?
Because
Running late. That's all, it's always late. Late to get my kids to school.
it's not, I didn't know it was a school zone, I thought it was 35.
No, they're just late. You know they're in school. They tell me that every time. And that one's that's my head scratcher. I don't get it.
That's the sense it's getting from other officers that are trying to control those areas when Pierce isn't there as well. It's the same thing. I mean, we can be as visible as much as possible, but it's still the same problem.
And that's everybody's story, is they're late.
It's just, yeah, late, either getting their kid to school or they have to drop the kid off and then get to a meeting or get back home for an online, it has to do with, yeah, lateness every time.
How many repeat? Yeah.
I had a few. Cause when I run a plate or run a person on a traffic stop, CAD tells me if I've stopped that car before, then what the reason I stopped them before is, so there's quite a few frequent flyers.
Would it say that you stopped them before or that?
You have to, you can, it's a link that it pulls up, and you have to open the link to see the previous call.
Oh,
And then you can see, oh, I'm the one who stopped this person.
Weren't you just telling us that about last week where you stopped the same guy like 2 days later? Same thing.
Yeah. That's not uncommon.
Exponentially higher tickets, time. You do that again, goes up to $1,000, do it again, goes up to
Sometimes it does, speeding it doesn't.
Yeah.
So.
So you do think that the 24/7 mobile camera catching people maybe
I
more
think you-
often would make a difference?
I mean, I think the camera system would be busy. I think there might be a hurdle with how to set the camera, because you're only gonna be able to do 20 during 7 to 5 on school days, so I don't know how they would program it, because it's 25 outside of school hours. So that would be a challenge on how to program it on school days.
It just seems like if they blow past you in the middle of the road with your lights on, are they gonna care that there's a camera there?
I mean, I don't know.
I think if they go out there, you're gonna have to hide a little bit because middle schoolers could be bad.
Maybe I'll take that.
And they're gonna try to vandalize those things.
I can also connect with the chief and see if that technology is there, where the system will change those times of the day for the school hours and whatnot. See if that's feasible for
They can
them.
do it to the school beacons, they ought to be able to do it.
I'm sure there's a
Theirs as
way,
well.
yeah.
It's just a programming, it's like from this time to this time, it's 20, and after that, it's 25.
Yeah.
So it begs the question, do people vandalize these stationary policemen?
I mean, I'm sure they'll try. They're not very tall. They're perfect height if somebody wanted to.
The chief mentioned during the police advisory board meeting that their those lenses are coated with some sort of anti-graffiti film on there, so it comes off pretty easy. It's just a matter of it comes up on their computer that, you know, something's not working over there. They sent somebody to investigate, and it's typically a spray something on there and it wipes right off.
I'm no angel, but I would never think of doing something like that. 10 feet away.
Different world.
Yeah.
Especially if they're not on the camera.
Oh, we got to try to pay it first. Your face.
I would lean personally towards leaving this on the list until we get more info about this camera thing, because I think that could be a good tool, but if we don't have that as a tool, then I feel like there's something else that needs to be done with it.
Yeah, I mean, we've done months worth of analyzing and enforcement there, and I haven't seen any change, so. The status quo is not changing behavior.
We were doing this at the end of the school
In
year.
the school year last year, yeah.
Yeah, at least that one.
Can you have I guess it's already double fine, right? Because it's a school zone.
Yeah. And there's some days that,
Are people
well,
fine?
depending on his schedule too, like the school resource officer at the middle school, Officer Newman, he'll come out and join me and we'll sit on either side. Just to be as present as possible, 2 patrol cars out. Not on the side of it, in the middle of the road. Like, that's the thing that drives me crazy. I'm in the middle of the road.
Is that an option for our city to change what the ticketing increments are for a school zone? Or is that more of a
But
state?
it's state statute for violation amounts now. I don't want to speak above my pay grade, but I know other cities, like my dad, for example, he's a retired police officer in the city he worked in. City could tack on extra fees that go along with the citation. So there's a state mandated amount that we cite for, but then cities can tack on their own. I don't know how that process works. I just know that the city I grew up in, they tacked on their own internal fee on top of the citation amount.
Second and third offense fee.
Yeah,
And if you get multiple tickets at some point,
so if you have 3 moving violations in a 2-year period, DMV restricts your driver's license, meaning you can't drive from midnight to 4 AM for 30 days, which really, who does that affect? Nobody. It's like a slap on the wrist. If you get a 4th, then you can move up to a 30-day full suspension. And then that's where you just can't drive at all for 30 days.
and does the mobile tickets count for that?
Yeah, it's any moving violation.
Gosh.
Turn signal, cell phone, running red light, speeding, whatever.
You close the road every day and bring a pilot car in. Pilot car piloting people one way and then back the other way. Unsure way to get people in such one.
I would make a motion to table this pending review of the new cameras.
Yeah, I think the cameras would be a great tool for this, and there's really much we can do, because nothing's changed since our last meeting.
We're still doing the same enforcement and wherever you want able.
Putting out there.
Yeah, I don't think we need a motion to hold this to the next meeting, but. Anybody else? Everybody okay with that? Since we're not meeting till next year, maybe we'll have some answers on the camera thing. Okay, 5-13. Speed limit sign, extra speed enforcement or stop sign at Bullock and Elgin. I think we were waiting for data. This is one that I think Jason said he was gonna put the radar up on.
The trailer's been out there for a while.
Yeah, we put the trailer out there for a while. We've got officers out there as well. We're just not getting the data to support the speed complaints on there.
I feel like this is one of those perception streets. Cause it's like we talked about before, the Roach is abnormally wide for a neighborhood street, you know, it's like we put like 3 cars driving down that street. So it's one of those streets where I think the speed looks faster than it is. Cause I've sat out there and I'm not seeing anything over 25 myself. Can't speak on all the other officers' behalf, but I haven't personally seen.
And you've been doing this for what, 3 months now? 2 months?
This one, yeah, off and on, cause I had a recruit in training for the last 6 weeks, so. It was a combination of that and coaching her through her training process. But in the times I have sat out there, I haven't seen a problem.
You guys wanna close this one out?
I would make a motion to close this one out.
Look at that.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye, any opposed? Okay, 25-14 request for. Always stop at Woodhaven Pinehurst.
I believe we were gonna act on that by putting up some radar detectors. I understand those have been up, but it's still gonna take some time to be able to get that analysis back to us. We're thinking we should have information to be able to get back to the committee in January, since November, December, is gonna be canceled.
Okay. We'll table that one until the next meeting. 25-17 request to restrict parking on Smith to one side of the street. I remember I had this one, we tabled it because we were talking about more citywide policy stuff rather than just all these one-offs, whether or not we want to do this.
Correct, as I recall, we were talking about, the city having a standardized response for this, because we didn't want to set a precedent. But then we also, I think one of the officers, I forget if it was one of you guys, and he's like, oh, we just kind of see where these cars are coming from, because the same cars parked there all the time. But, I don't know, is there anything from your patrols? I mean, it's out there on Meineke.
But, and then again, I mean, you restrict the one side, it's just gonna push the cars into the other streets surrounding it. It's just gonna make those areas that are already worse, or with those parking restrictions there, it's just gonna make it even more worse.
The width of the street is wide enough to not really restrict parking to one side. And I think at one time we were to check with the fire department to see if they had any issues with access to that. They indicated they don't really regulate public streets, they do private streets, so, but again, talking to the fire marshal, he didn't really recall having concern with being able to get safety equipment down that roadway.
That, I would probably make a motion to close that out with no action. Or do we need to send a response to the?
Well, yeah, right, that's what Jason Waters was saying, was that they were working on a standard response and we were all good with that. So I don't know if we'll wait and see what the response is that's gonna go out whenever a request like this comes in, or if we're fine, just close it, but that we decided there wasn't really anything we were gonna do. Jason was gonna get that one handled. So I mean, I'm fine closing it too, if that's what we all wanna do.
Closing it with no recommended action.
Yeah, no action other than for the city to respond to the complaint. Is that the motion then? Move that we close this with no action from the board, but that the city send a response.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. 25-17. 25-18. Big concerns on the Willamette up to division.
I think this was Lincoln, the section of Lincoln from between the way.
I think so too. Yes.
Yeah, the hill.
And that trailer, I rode my bike down that hill the other day. I think that trailer is still there, right?
Yeah, so we moved the trailer over there. We've had quite a bit of enforcement officers over there when we can. The information that I'm getting back from them, just an officer standpoint, trying to enforce that, is they're getting more of the people running stop signs in those areas versus the signs. And then looking at information on Urban SDK, it's, you know, people are actually, the average speed is below the speed limit. And more of the problem that they're seeing, they're stopping people for is running the stop signs.
The camera's on the hill right now.
It is.
Last time we talked about this, there was a speeding issue between Willamette. Oh, that was a different issue.
That was Oregon,
Between Willamette and
or that was the lower half on the straightaway.
Yeah.
This is all straightaway, the flat part.
yeah,
Yeah, right.
that was a separate conversation.
This is the hill and this is the flat part here.
Is that right? The notes, the minutes said that enforcement data showed multiple stops for vehicles doing 45 to 48 in the downhill. But I kind of remember we talking about the flat section.
I recall talking about the flat section. I don't recall us talking about the downhill. I mean, it's a natural tendency to, you know, you have to kind of ride your brake all the way down that hill. And what did your patrols, Urban SDK show that?
Yeah, the average speed people are going is actually below the speed limit.
I've actually noticed that sitting out there myself, people tend to go slower on both Lincoln between down the hill, and then they also go slower on Pine. The two steepest hills we have, people go the slopes because they know that they're gonna get to the bottom, they gotta stop. So people tend to ride their bikes a lot harder down those two hills.
And the average speed going, or at least on that hill section, is 20 miles an hour.
We left this one off that it was another one of the streets that Jason was gonna put the radar on. Do you wanna wait for that or?
I live on Lincoln Street on the flat part. And I don't know if it's reception, but it does seem like cars, it's one of the through streets we consider. And I walk up at the hill. And overall, I have seen that the red and blue lights don't come on for the radar. It's just every once in a while for cars that come down. And as soon as they see that, they slow down. So like in that regard, it's certainly working on reducing the speed. But in the flat part is more where I see the speeding than on the hill. And although it's just a short stretch of rail, people really want to get through that fast. And it's anecdotal. I know I don't really have the evidence to back any of that up, but from the perception of living on the street, it does feel like people speed through there.
You're interested in seeing the radar data?
I'd be curious moving into the flat. Right now it's on the hill.
This trailer?
Yeah, and seeing, I imagine that collects the data as well.
This trailer does not.
Oh, okay. Just to see what the data actually does say, because neighbors ask me about it as well, knowing that I'm on the council, like, when are you gonna do something about this? And because the fire department's there's no speed, we can't really do much to calm the speed for that street, from what I've explored. So if we had data for the neighborhood, that would be helpful potentially.
I think he was gonna put it in the flat section, cause that's where we kept talking about it last week, but can we make that?
Yeah, after we get done with the Woodhaven area, we should be able, and we'll have a few months to be able to get those over there. Like that. I don't see that being an issue for us.
Okay. So that stretch of road is not part of this complaint. Do we wanna just kind of hack it onto there and hold this one for the discussions purposes or?
So we're looking for the lower portion of the street as far as that. We'll have time to do both areas if we need to move those around. So I don't see it being a problem.
Okay.
Let it on both sections of Lincoln.
Do that? We just table it and continue to collect data.
I can't imagine people speeding up Lincoln Street.
Not really up.
It's not west.
It's down. We do, you do see some cars, and then we say we go through the stop signs because of the speed. They just, I'm shocked at that sometimes. Similar to people not stopping when they see what's in the middle of the road, like slowing down. It was the same type of reason.
And the fire department at the end of the street, I mean, what would possess somebody to do that?
Do they make stop sign enforcement cameras?
I mean, that'd be cool if they did.
Okay. Consensus of table this one till the next meeting? You guys good with that? Okay. Main thing, we'll go on to council your news.
All right, I got a couple things tonight. The election is going up on November 4th. Should have received ballots for that. One of the things with this election is the WCCLS Measure 34345, which is for the library funding. Currently, our library relies on over 26% of the current levy. And so just as information about how you choose to vote with that. They are asking for increase. Information in your vote packets for that. With Pride Disposal, we have approved the rate increase for this next year. last year we did close to a 10% increase. This year it's 4%. And we are aware of, continuing to see the increases. And so as a council, we had actually several work sessions to make sure that we were addressing anything that we could to reduce costs for residents here. But we are seeing, everything going up, fortunately. In addition to that, I don't know if people are aware of this, but currently with our yard debris service, you are allowed to put organic food waste in there free of charge. The hauler, we talked about reducing that as part of a cost saving thing, but the way that it's mixed now to unmix things seems to be a higher barrier, unfortunately, for the cost savings. And so I use that service. And so I'm telling people that if you don't, it's great to use. And if you'd like to keep it, if you are using it, to let people know that you are using it. They're going to be doing a survey soon to kind of see what the participation rates are for this, to see if it is something that we are using that for cost purposes. So if you are using it, great. If not, there are easy ways to do it and to not make your bin too dirty. We use paper bags to put our food in and then put them in the bin, so it's not a big cleanup. You also got your yard debris you can mix with it. Happy to answer any questions about that if you'd like after the meeting. But there are easy ways to dispose of that, and it's cut our actual waste down by over half. You didn't realize how much rinds and food scraps that we were actually putting in our garbage. I think that those are the only two things. Tonight, I'm happy to take any questions.
So you could throw your food into a paper bag and throw that into.
As long as it would be comparable to what you'd put into the bin, yeah. So the paper bags from grocery stores and stuff is what we use.
Right, you got soiled napkins,
Yep.
soiled napkins in the bin. You can put your turkey carcass for Thanksgiving, fish, eggs and stuff. Yeah, any kind of organic food waste and paper products that.
Pizza box of it?
Food.
Pizza boxes are no right now.
Just don't put it in the beginning of the week.
Exactly. Yes. Be mindful of when. Yes.
But you can downsize your garbage can, because you pay for the garbage can and you get the yard debris for free, basically. So you can downsize your garbage can and lower your bill if you end up putting half your waste into the yard debris bin, when you realize that, so much of your waste is food based. So table, plate scrapings, all that stuff.
Did I see Brad the other day? I swear I saw it with a brand new electric or hybrid
Yes.
garbage truck. So
They
that's
drive.
going to help lower their costs if they can run on electric over diesel anyways.
Well, most of the trucks are actually running on a natural gas.
Or
And so the cost for the electric versus the natural gas trucks, the trucks themselves, the natural gas ones are still quite a bit cheaper. And so there was a lot of discussion about that as far as Pride is the one who is choosing what their fleet is, but we are the ones paying for their fleet in the end. And so there's discussion with Pride about maybe having a better conversation about what the costs are for the residents before they're purchasing these, because it's not quite at an advantage for the electric yet, unfortunately. Yeah.
well, thanks for only approving a 4% increase then.
Looks pretty futuristic.
It does.
First time I saw it.
Fancy.
Pretty quiet. Yeah.
My kids love hearing the garbage truck, they run.
Okay, next is board announcements. So anybody have anything they want to share?
I have a question. It's about Sunset in Maine, the construction. I know that Craig, and you're probably the best one to answer this. I know Craig sent an email saying that there was going to be a paving project happening next week on Wednesday, Thursday, but it seems that there's been construction these last couple of days. Is that the same project move forward, or is this something separate?
It is the same project, so we had some areas that we needed to dig out before we go in there, and we level page and then grind and then make it a nice smooth surface after that. So this is just some work that we're doing in preparation of that. weather's a big dependent, as far as whether we actually get there, next week or not, so we're still, hoping we can get there and get that taken care of, but. The contractor will have to make a decision on grinding and be able to apply asphalt at the same time, so we don't have that street, tore up more than it is already, so.
Okay,
So they are related.
so the closing, the expected closures of 30 minutes twice a day completely shut down is still planned for next, I think it's the 28th, 29th or something.
Yeah, so it'll help us with actually the paving of the intersection is why that closure is taking place there. So,
This is just the prep.
Okay.
What are the limits? What's the limits of the work?
intersection of Main and Sunset up to the just west of the intersection of Seven Hills. That first section up before you get the intersection.
That's where I live on Cinnamon Hill, right off Cinnamon Hills.
Yeah.
I gotta remember that so I can go up Pine Street and cut into Cinnamon Hills right there, because yeah. Okay.
And those closures are gonna happen, I know it said outside of the school drop off and pickup hours, but is it gonna happen during the day, like 4 or 5 o'clock,
It
or
would be during the day.
it's all day work? Okay,
And there's gonna be another closure on Seven Hills. You mentioned that PG is doing some work for authorize them to be able to close Seven Hills there as they're make those areas safe for them. So there'll be another closure that you may impact your schedule specifically.
We have there. 4, 7. All right, so we got 2 staff comments.
Excellent. I just wanted to give you guys an update. So on the school zone crossing assessment, I know that I presented you guys, I don't even know when.
August.
Couple of, okay, August. All right, thank you for the reminder, August. And wanted to share that we presented the conceptual treatments for all of those 3 schools to the city council work session. The first time we did it in September, we just presented and ran out of time as far as answering questions. Just this past Tuesday, we presented again and had a really good discussion, really more of one area or one school, Hawksview. And so thank you, Sabrina, for bringing this up. And basically, we found out through those 2 work sessions that the existing school district administrative office that used to be a school is banked to be a future elementary school. So in the future, they may utilize it as an elementary school. So they were hoping, because one of the recommendations was removing that half signal that's there because it's not warranted based on the administration building. But if it's a school in the future, of course, there would be some type of signal or treatment there. But the council has requested that if we can keep that, that would be great. So we're amending the proposal to keep that. And then the other one was that we were gonna have a rapid flashing beacon just to the north of, well, is it the south of that, where it would ultimately connect the new Cedar Creek Crossing trailhead. But they requested that that be eliminated and do some type of treatment where the Hawksview Elementary is. I know there's some type of treatment there now, but it's a very outdated flashers. It's not a rectangle rapid flashing beacon. It's definitely not a signal. So there's a question in regards to what that type of treatment should be. So that's where we left it. We are going back to modifying the concepts in regards to try to meet the request by city council. But again, there's probably going to be future studies that's going to be required, because one of the recommendations just down the street on 3rd and Pine, where it's the non-signal crossing, they are requesting that there be an intersection study for that. And so, we could probably look at that whole corridor at the same time on what is the best type of treatment. But we're gonna move forward, in regards to, what was highly suggested by council and see what we can do. Again, these are more like concept plans as far as, what we can do. There's no funding for this. So since there's no funding, being exact to what type of treatments, we could just provide opportunities for these things to happen, and other possibilities as far as like a hawk light versus a rectangular flashing beacon, as city council was asking. So I just wanted to brief you guys because I know I presented those 3 different schools. ED is not changing because those schools or for that one particular school, and the only reason why it's ED is a county roadway, so we have no jurisdiction in regards to the type of treatment. But again, ED, there is a capital project improvements by the county, and so we're gonna be coordinating with them just to make sure the needs of the school district and the safe crossing of the kids can be accomplished. So that's the school zone crossing assessment. Questions on that? Yeah.
Thank you for all your hard work on that.
Oh, it's definitely worth it.
I just have one question. During the discussion the other night at council, we talked about the half signal quite a bit and the rapid flashing beacons, and the majority of the council would prefer to have the half signals with the actual red light that will require 100% compliance, where the yellow ones are more of a yield, and it's closer to 90%, what we were understood to believe. And so for the safety of the kids, the 100%, like these, although it's a red light and stops traffic, like that's what the direction council is wanting to go for all school zones. So it sounds like.
So that's the hawk symbol, right?
Yeah, the hawks. So we're gonna, what I did offer is that we definitely will look at this through the TSP update lens in regards to creating a policy and criteria as far as when would that threshold be? Because as many of you being in this committee understand that certain warrants dictate the type of treatment, right? Usually if it's one lane in each direction and it's a low average daily trip, usually a rapid flashing beacon, the yellow where you would just, would be the type of treatment that's required. Council has requested that if we can create a criteria that may require something. So we're going to be evaluating that, and we'll create some type of policy through the TSP update.
As a traffic signal electrician myself, I would honestly, I understand about warrants. I would prefer to see a pedestrian crossing traffic signal that it just remains resting green and then goes red when pedestrians are crossing, and then goes back to resting green, just like just up the street from Hawksview is already there. Hawk signals, in my opinion, are not the best thing for drivers in general because they're typically dark and they train drivers to drive through a dark signal all the time. And I don't like them, personally. Being out on the road, if I have a power outage, people fly through dark signals. They're required to stop. If a signal goes dark, it becomes a 4-way stop. But the hawk signal is off all the time. And I would prefer, if we're going to do that at Hawksview, to see a pedestrian crossing traffic signal that just rests in green and then goes red when pedestrians cross and then goes back to green. Which is my input. I've been about 15 years doing traffic signals now, so I just don't know if warrants will allow for it, even though it's already on Sherwood Boulevard, just up the street.
Right, and there's also, a concern that the school district brought up after is the connectivity and the flow of the traffic. There's a lot of concern where, you're dealing with the parents and then the school buses. They're already not meeting like the start time, just because of the impacts of all the traffic. So just because of the narrowness of from Bird and Sunset and Pine to the school itself. And then half a block down the road is the half signal at the administration. So again, some additional analysis, operational analysis needs to be conducted so that we really do need to pin down exactly, once we find funding, right? Pin down exactly what type of treatment, just so that operations wise and the traffic can flow, but also the safety aspect can also occur. So that's where we're at, and I'll update you probably the new year as we move forward. We're trying to finalize this. Again, these are conceptual treatments. There's no funding, there's no monies tied to them yet. But if we end up finding some money, right?
Seek money.
We'll look for some money, maybe some grants, maybe. And then if we get those fundings, we can move forward and some additional investments. But it's definitely the policy of the rapid flashing beacon versus the personal hybrid beacon cadet personal. That's your hybrid beacon or the hawk. Versus the half street now, or half signal, because that's what we are calling that existing signal, a half signal.
The last point I would make as far as funding goes is, the cost difference is virtually nil between a half signal and a hawk signal, because they both require full mast arms, they both require a service with a signal cabinet and all of that, so there's no difference really in cost to build them.
Right, there is a difference between rectangular rapid.
Massively.
Like it's times 4 less in comparison to the actual signal, so. So that's other questions?
Yeah, I'm curious, really quick, you mentioned the school district, and you might not know it, but they have that, that facility as a potential elementary school. Would that replace Hawksview, or that'd be an addition, so there'd be 2 side-by-side elementaries with double?
Just because they're thinking that there may be a demand in the future, and they requested that that particular school be banked, or that administration be banked for school.
So it's potential, there's 2 schools that share with twice the pedestrian traffic.
It was unfortunate when the conversion happened that we didn't catch them removing that signal. Because that would have, because the signal itself is outdated. So if we were gonna do any type of improvements, we have to bring it up to current standards, like ADA ramps, everything. Right?
Correct, yes.
So it's not just, so we're gonna keep it as is until we need to do something different.
Yep, makes sense. All right, thank you.
Okay, so the last, the TSP update. As you're aware that we started this as far as the process in April, we've done a lot in regards to since we last met, we've held the first Citizen Advisory Committee and the Technical Advisory Committee back during the summer in July. We definitely created or held 2 public engagement sessions as far as the Robin Hood Festival and Music on the Greens. We've coordinated with ODA on their multimodal data that is new that they generated for us, which is excellent. So we're currently reviewing the data, drafting existing conditions report and the maps. We're also drafting a public engagement plan. We're probably going to have a winter open house. That's not just going to showcase the TSP update, but other city public work projects. So look for that. So an opportunity to serve some apple cider, maybe some donuts. We'll see. So we're also drafting goals and policies that we presented at the Citizen Advisory Committee and the Technical Advisory Committee and got their feedback. So we're meeting on November 19th as far as the citizen advisory and technical advisory, and you guys are represented by Jason, from this board. And also, Lisa is also sitting as a general, citizen, on that citizen advisory committee. So we'll try to finalize the vision and the goal and the public engagement plan during, that meeting in November. The best part, if anything, we're gonna nominate, what is this? A youth advisory member, to the committee, Akwasi Kobina. I'm sure I'm butchering that name, but he will be the youth, advisory board representative. So, which is great, so that we're also getting, the voice of the youth. Just, questions?
How long has the youth advisory board been active? It's brand new, right? Did it
Yeah.
Start like in July, maybe?
Yeah, I think they had 2 meetings. Yeah, and I made a pitch at the last one, so, and, I'm really happy that, one of them stepped up just so that they can be
Are
represented.
they all high schoolers? High school age, or is it like
I believe
19, 20?
that was part of the conditions of everything on it.
But
I hear staff's very impressed with, all of it at this time again.
are they, I think the board too was, or the youth advisory board was open to the entire community versus it wasn't just limited to like Sherwood High School. So, which is great because there could be students, right, exactly, right, exactly, so. But yeah, that was the most exciting that I got a youth representative, to be sitting. That's all that I have in regards to the TSP, and as we move forward, I'll share with, I'll definitely touch base with you guys in regards to where we're at, just to keep you guys informed. From decent camp.
Thanks, Trey. Any other staff comments? All right. On the list. We'll adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, everybody.
Well,
Happy Thanksgiving.